We inhabit a world that, for us women, frequently resembles an invisible obstacle course. We are ceaselessly bombarded by images and expectations of perfection, an unattainable ideal that manifests itself in every facet of our lives. From an early age, we are taught to shoulder a burden, a sort of feminine cultural guilt, which arises when we fail to be the impeccable professional, the present and patient mother, the attentive partner, the loyal friend, the exemplary daughter, and still have time to care for ourselves, our bodies, minds, and souls. This pressure becomes a constant hum in our minds, whispering that we are never enough, that we could always do more, be more, and exist more fully. It is as if we are engaged in an eternal performance, where the slightest misstep becomes grounds for severe self-criticism and an overwhelming sense of failure. This guilt infiltrates our decisions, our interactions, our very perception of worth, undermining our self-confidence and robbing us of inner peace. It compels us to second-guess our decisions, even when they are the most logical and salubrious for us, simply because they deviate from a societal mold that has been pre-established. This constitutes a significant burden, one that we often bear in silence, lacking even the wherewithal to articulate or confront it. We feel the exhaustion, the frustration, the pervasive sense of perpetually chasing something that we never quite grasp. This narrative, which ensnares us in a cycle of self-recrimination, is profoundly enervating and constricting, precluding us from flourishing and living with the completeness we deserve. It is against this backdrop of multifaceted demands and relentless self-criticism that Stoic philosophy emerges not as a rigid set of rules, but as a beacon of practical wisdom, a guide for navigating the complexities of modern life with greater serenity and inner strength. Stoicism offers a transformative perspective, an invitation to introspection, allowing us to rediscover our agency amidst the whirlwind of external influences. It teaches us to distinguish with clarity and lucidity what is truly within our purview: our intentions, our efforts, our values, our reactions, and our daily choices, from that which, however much we may desire it, remains beyond our control: external opinions, hasty judgments, unforeseen circumstances, and expectations imposed upon us. This fundamental distinction is the key to dismantling feminine cultural guilt, as it liberates us from the need to attempt to control the uncontrollable and allows us to focus our energy where it can truly generate a positive and significant impact on our own character and virtuous actions. Upon internalizing this wisdom, we begin to construct an inner fortress, a sanctuary of tranquility amidst external storms, where our peace of mind is no longer contingent upon the approval of others or adherence to unrealistic ideals. It is a pathway to emotional self-sufficiency and genuine freedom, enabling us to live in accordance with our own principles, with authenticity and dignity, even when the world around us seems to demand the contrary. This Stoic approach is not about suppressing emotions or becoming indifferent to challenges, but rather about cultivating a healthier and more constructive relationship with our feelings and with adversities. Rather than being swept away by waves of anxiety, frustration, or disappointment, we learn to observe them from a certain remove, to comprehend their origins without fully identifying with them. Stoicism encourages us to recognize that emotions are, in large part, responses to our judgments about events, rather than to the events themselves. This signifies that we possess the power to shape our reactions, choosing to interpret situations in a manner that fosters our well-being and resilience, instead of succumbing to negativity. In our daily lives, this translates into concrete strategies. When a work project doesn't go as planned, instead of blaming ourselves for not being perfect enough, we can focus on the learning, the lesson the experience has imparted, and how we can apply this knowledge in future endeavors. When a conflict arises in a relationship, rather than allowing ourselves to be consumed by anger or sadness, we can strive to understand the other person's perspective, communicate our feelings assertively and clearly, and focus on finding a solution that respects our values and needs without attempting to control the other's reaction. This capacity to manage our emotional responses, to not be slaves to our impulses, is one of the cornerstones of the freedom that Stoicism offers us, enabling us to act with greater wisdom and equanimity even under pressure. The construction of this inner fortitude, so crucial for us women navigating a sea of expectations, invariably involves the cultivation of self-awareness and self-compassion. Stoicism beckons us to a profound immersion within our own being, to an honest investigation of our thoughts, feelings, and motivations. It is an invitation to become keen observers of our own minds, recognizing our thought patterns, especially those that lead us to self-criticism and guilt. This self-awareness enables us to identify the triggers that ignite feelings of inadequacy and empowers us to intervene before these sentiments become overwhelming. Concurrently, self-compassion is paramount. Instead of treating ourselves with the severity of an unyielding judge, we learn to embrace ourselves with the kindness of an understanding friend. We acknowledge that erring is human, that failure is an intrinsic part of the growth process, and that all of us, at some point, grapple with adversities and imperfections. Setting realistic expectations for ourselves, accepting that we cannot be everything to everyone all the time, is an act of profound self-love and stoic wisdom. By concentrating on cultivating our virtues such as courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom, rather than pursuing external ideals of success or beauty, we anchor ourselves in something more enduring and meaningful. When our actions are guided by our deepest values, the opinions of others lose their power to destabilize us, and our self-esteem becomes less reliant on external validation and more intrinsically tied to the integrity of our character. The art of making wise decisions, unburdened by the weight of guilt and social pressure, is another jewel that Stoicism offers us. In a world that encourages us to act on impulse, to seek immediate gratification, or to succumb to group pressure, Stoic philosophy guides us toward a path of reflection and discernment. She teaches us to ground our decisions in reason and virtue, carefully weighing the repercussions of our actions and aligning them with our noblest principles. This implies, for instance, that when contemplating a new career prospect, we should not solely focus on remuneration or societal standing, but also ascertain whether such a choice harmonizes with our intrinsic values, our aspiration to contribute to a grander purpose, and whether it will enable us to sustain a salubrious equilibrium in other crucial facets of our existence. This judicious methodology safeguards us from impetuous choices that could engender regret or cultivate fresh wellsprings of remorse. The Stoic principle of focusing on what we can control and accepting what we cannot becomes an indispensable guide here. If we are seeking a promotion, we can control our effort, our dedication, and the development of our skills. We cannot control the final decision of the boss, the country's economy, or the actions of competing colleagues. By internalizing this distinction, we release an enormous amount of mental energy that was previously expended on futile worries about the uncontrollable, allowing us to act with greater serenity and effectiveness in the areas where our influence is real. This clarity in decision-making is an act of empowerment, allowing us to actively shape our future rather than being mere spectators to our circumstances. Ultimately, Stoicism empowers us to cultivate unshakable resilience in the face of life's inevitable adversities, fostering a profound acceptance of impermanence and change, which are the very weavers of existence. For us women, who are often taught to eschew pain and pursue stability at all costs, this Stoic perspective may seem radical, but it is precisely in its embrace of life's natural ebb and flow that its transformative power resides. From the Stoic perspective, resilience is not the absence of hardship, but rather the capacity to confront it with courage and wisdom, learning from every setback and emerging stronger. When a plan falters, when a relationship concludes, when we encounter disappointment, instead of succumbing to the feeling of failure or railing against fate, we are invited to accept the situation as it is, acknowledging that life is composed of ebbs and flows, of losses and gains. This acceptance is not passive resignation, but a lucid acknowledgement of reality, which liberates us from the draining energy of resisting the inevitable. From this point of acceptance, we can then direct our attention to what we can learn from the experience and how we can adapt and move forward. Developing this capacity to rise again after setbacks, to find meaning even in difficult times, and to maintain a balanced and optimistic perspective even in the face of uncertainty, is one of the greatest gifts Stoicism can offer us. It is an invitation to recognize that our strength lies not in the absence of challenges, but in our ability to navigate them with integrity and serenity, emerging not unscathed, but transformed and wiser. And so, by embracing Stoic principles, we discover that our intrinsic worth is not tethered to the unattainable perfection society imposes upon us, but resides within our very essence, in our capacity to live with virtue, reason, and self-mastery. Stoicism offers us a potent tool to dismantle feminine cultural guilt, teaching us to focus on what lies within our control, our choices, our actions, our intentions, and to serenely accept that which does not. By cultivating self-awareness and self-compassion, we learn to treat ourselves with the kindness we deserve, setting realistic expectations and valuing our character above all else. Stoic wisdom guides our decision-making, enabling us to act with clarity and integrity without succumbing to external pressures or emotional impulses. Finally, by embracing resilience and the acceptance of impermanence, we develop an unshakable inner strength, capable of helping us flourish even amidst adversity. This journey is not a final destination, but an ongoing process of practice and reflection. Each day presents us with fresh opportunities to apply these teachings, to draw closer to the best versions of ourselves, unburdened by the shackles of guilt and empowered by timeless wisdom. Remember, your strength, your worth, and your inner peace are gifts that you cultivate within, irrespective of external expectations. You are enough, precisely as you are, and possess within yourself the capacity to live a fulfilling and meaningful life, guided by the light of reason and the fortitude of your own character. And so, by embracing Stoic principles, we discover that our intrinsic worth is not tethered to the unattainable perfection that society imposes upon us, but resides in our very essence, in our capacity to live with virtue, reason, and self-mastery. Stoicism offers us a potent tool to dismantle feminine cultural guilt, teaching us to focus on what is within our control, our choices, our actions, our intentions, and to serenely accept what is not. By cultivating self-awareness and self-compassion, we learn to treat ourselves with the kindness we deserve, setting realistic expectations and valuing our character above all else. Stoic wisdom guides our decision-making, enabling us to act with clarity and integrity without succumbing to external pressures or emotional impulses. And, ultimately, by embracing resilience and the acceptance of impermanence, we cultivate an unshakable inner strength, capable of allowing us to flourish even amidst adversity. This journey is not a final destination, but a continuous process of practice and reflection. Each day presents us with fresh opportunities to apply these teachings, to draw closer to the best version of ourselves, unburdened by the shackles of guilt and empowered by timeless wisdom. Remember, your strength, your worth, and your inner peace are gifts you cultivate within, irrespective of external expectations. You are enough, precisely as you are, and possess within you the capacity to live a fulfilling and meaningful life, guided by the light of reason and the fortitude of your own character. The true practice, the one that transmutes philosophy into lived experience, commences now, in every conscious choice, in every tranquil breath, in every instant you elect to be the architect of your own narrative, with the inherent dignity and fortitude that have always resided within us.